And so I just want to give a little recap on how the program is going to work. So we'll give the lecture, the theory part for the first part of the class today. And then after we finish that, we'll do question and answers. Then we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll do the exercises. And after that, we'll do more question and answers, and then we'll finish up. So I think we're ready.
Yeah.
So go.
Are we recording on
All
Zoom
right.
too? Okay.
So we're recording. All right. So welcome. Today we're going to start with the three logo. We're going to go into the three logoi, but first I want to do a recap. I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay. Go into a recap. So on the first day, we talked about a cosmic perspective of human nature. So we introduced the idea of the cosmic perspective in the Secret Doctrine, or from the Secret Doctrine. And hopefully we showed that it's not just this way out there theory, but that through the law of correspondences, we can take that and bring it down to our own personal manifested daily activities and use it to help us on our spiritual path. Okay. Then the second day we dove into the absolute with a clumsy set of words and thoughts about something that is nameless. And so the main little recap that I have here is this one absolute reality antecedes all manifested, conditioned being. This infinite and eternal cause is the rootless root of all that was, is, or ever shall be. It is the omnipresent reality, latent in every atom in the universe, and is the universe itself. And then here we started with the three aspects of the absolute reality, which we said really are the absolute reality in themselves. And then today we're going to work down to the manifested cosmos and show how we show the in-between parts here of where absolute abstract motion manifests and folds, transforms into spirit in our physical world. The absolute abstract space will unfold into matter, and absolute abstract duration will unfold into time. So today's class is mainly going to be on the parts from the absolute reality to the manifested cosmos. So the three logoi. So the first logos, the second logos, and the third logos. All right, so here we go. Pre-cosmic stage, the mother, space, substance. Space is called the mother before its cosmic activity, and father mother at the first stage of reawakening. Pre-cosmic root substance is the aspect of the absolute which underlies all the objective planes of nature. It is the substratum of matter in the various grades of its differentiation.
So something that the Secret Doctrine brings is, let's say, before the beginning teaching. Normally, when we say in the beginning, this was created or that was created, for example, taking the Judeo-Christian tradition, that starts from manifestation, from when the cosmos begins to develop. Now, here we are talking about a pre-cosmic stage, a stage before the beginning, but it's a stage that we are not in the night of the universe, as Blavatsky calls it. We are not in a state of pralaya. This is the Sanskrit word that she uses. We are coming out of that. The cosmos is awakening, but not yet manifested. So one of the aspects of in this cosmic space or stage is the pre-cosmic, because we don't have a cosmos yet, root substance, the material aspect. Of course, at this level, is the substance is very spiritual, but that principle of root substance, as the quote says, will give origin to all the different planes, the 7 planes with all the different kinds of matter that are there in the manifested cosmos. And this is called the matter, this aspect of the manifestation.
And we're still talking, we're still in the realm, we're out of the realm of
Duality.
right. Well, no, we're out of the realm of
The
the
absolute.
absolute. We're now into the realm of the first logos, or this pre-cosmic stage, but we're still undifferentiated and homogeneous. So there isn't this mother space substance, and then we're going to see the father consciousness.
Yeah, they are not really separate. Just
Right.
as we said with the absolute, that there are 3 aspects, but that doesn't mean there are 3 things. There is only the absolute, that we can talk about it in 3 different ways. Here also, as Michelle says, we are still in the world of unity. There is no differentiation yet. That first thing, we can call it, root substance, or as we are going to see in the next one, we can call it pre-cosmic ideation. But it's not that there are 2 things. These are 2 aspects of the same thing. That's
Okay, the next is pre-cosmic stage, the father, ideation, and logos. The great breath assumes the character of pre-cosmic ideation. It is the source and origin of force and all individual consciousness, and supplies the guiding intelligence in the vast scheme of cosmic evolution. So this is the second half, or the second part, second aspect. To me, I kind of looked at it that if we look at the gradation, that this part in the absolute, you don't see anything. In this part, you start seeing letters, but not words yet to separate.
Mm-hmm. So the father and the mother at this stage, meaning the spiritual ideation and the spiritual substance, they are, as we said, still 2 aspects of the same homogeneous, origin of everything. They are not really separate here. And just as the aspect of substance produces all the planes of matter, the aspect of ideation, ideation comes from idea, or the capacity to generate ideas. So this is the part, the intelligence part. From that comes all the different kinds of consciousness, from celestial beings to atoms.
So here we have a diagram to show that. So we start out with the absolute and its aspects, and then we come into the unmanifested cosmos, the undifferentiated and homogeneous. And I put that in there to make sure, because when we put it up here, we see that from the great breath, from the absolute abstract motion, we get pre-cosmic ideation, unmanifested logos, which eventually becomes consciousness. And this is what we've described as the father. Then the absolute abstract space becomes pre-cosmic substance, mula prakriti, or root substance, and which will be eventually the substratum of matter. And this we call mother. But like I said, the words make it look like we're differentiated, but we're still in an undifferentiated, homogeneous state.
Yes, and it's important, we call this father and mother because this is what will give origin down the line of manifestation to what we can call the father and mother when they are separated. So right now, it's like saying the 2 sides of a coin. You just have the coin that has 2 sides. The 2 sides are not separate. So this first undifferentiated element has those 2 sides. So father and mother are not yet manifested, are not yet separate. Perhaps, Blavatsky sometimes calls them father and mother, but then she said in that quote, there is no eternal father or eternal mother, because they come into being during manifestation, and then they are absorbed when manifestation is over.
So I was just going to say, so in the coin example, what we're talking about here is the potentiality of the two sides of the coin. Here we still have only the silver from which, or the gold from which the coin will be made.
Yeah, yeah, we are not even yet in when the coin is formed.
We're
So,
thinking
yeah,
about the
that's-
two
yeah,
sides, but
yeah.
it's in potentiality.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you stole my example for later on.
Oh.
That's why. Okay, so the first logos, unmanifested. And this, I got a clarification. The first logos is also called the unmanifested logos, not that there's a manifested first logos.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the unmanifested is the same as pre-cosmic. You know, we are still at a stage where if you were there, you know, looking, there is nothing in the cosmos. This is all happening more on the inner planes before manifestation. Yeah.
So the first stage is the appearance of the potential point in the circle. And we'll see the diagrams of manifestation later on. So this is the unmanifested logos. The unmanifested logos issues from, or rather resides in, the mother goddess. He who is both her son and husband at once, called the concealed father. From these proceeds the manifested logos, or spirit, the son.
So as we see here, the mother goddess would be Mula Prakriti, and the father would be the first logos. As she says here, because the Mula Prakriti is an eternal principle, and the logos is not eternal. The logos appears and disappears with each manifestation, Manvantara in Sanskrit. So yesterday, when we were talking about the first principle, the first cause, the first movement, the first is this logos. But because it is the first, it will come to an end. Mula Prakriti is eternal, it's always there. So within Mula Prakriti, when the manifestation is going to be formed, then you have the appearance of the first logos. And because of that, it is the son of Mula Prakriti. Now, the first logos and Mula Prakriti begin to produce a manifestation. So now it becomes the husband of Mula Prakriti. And then the logos, when the logos is manifested, like coming outside of Mula Prakriti, then that is the son of Mula Prakriti. So again, so you can interchange these things.
So the sun is also, because it's on
There are
the
two
side,
suns.
yeah.
Yeah. So the first logos would be the unmanifested son who becomes the husband. And then there is the manifested son. And when this is, you have this many times in Greek philosophy, in Hindu philosophy, and when Christian, scholars of religion encountered Hinduism, for example, they would say that this is immoral because you have these allegories of the son marrying the mother. Blavatsky would say, well, that's just, an allegory for these principles so that people could understand, but it of course, yeah, in an anthropomorphic way.
Right. Okay, there is, and this is it. Yeah, there is no eternal female principle and there is no eternal male principle. There is the potentiality of both in one only, a principle which cannot be even called spirit.
Yeah, here we see that in the theosophical view, it is not true. We don't say that the masculine aspect is higher than the feminine, or that the feminine is higher than the masculine. We don't say that spirit is higher than substance, or substance is higher than spirit. The first principle is neither or both, as we said yesterday. And it has a potentiality for both male and female, spirit, matter, etc. When manifestation begins, they both come out, let's say, express themselves on the same level. So as soon as we have duality, we have the same level. HPV says, if anything, in philosophy, the feminine principle could be thought of as the first, because the active principle, the main principle, comes and goes. So the one that always resides would be the feminine principle. But she said that, you know, when referring to Mula Prakriti from a certain point of view, but technically speaking, as she says here, we have a sexless principle, and then we have the duality that springs on the same level.
Father, Mother, the ray of the first logos produces first that which is the potentiality united of both sexes, but is not yet either male or female sex.
Yeah, the first stage in manifestation is one where the two polarities, within the unity, there is a polarity. That's the first differentiation. First, we have undifferentiated unity, something homogeneous. And then within that unity, there is a polarization, not a separation, but something begins to change in the unity so that there are two poles, let's say. And that's what we may call an androgynous state. Androgynous means both sexes or genders. And then they will separate. And that is repeated all over the cosmos because of these, you know, correspondences. Even in the human, according to Blavatsky, the first individuals in humanity, they were all androgynous. And then little by little in evolution, the sex is separated and we had male and female. The same happens with the logos. The first manifestation, or, you know, what comes out of the first logos, the second logos, first is androgynous. It has the two potentialities. And down the line, it divides into a duality, as we will see.
So that's just to go back to the first day when we talked about the keys of interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be taking one concept and looking at it through two different keys.
Exactly. So we could say we are explaining this with the metaphysical key, you know, with the first logos and all of that. We can look at it with the anthropological key, and that would explain, you know, how the human races developed, races in the sense of the human race, not ethnicities, and how they also follow the same pattern. Now we can look at this also psychologically, which we will do today, and we will see that there is the same pattern that we can trace in our minds.
There is no difference with the first logos. Differentiation only begins in latent world thought with the second logos and receives its full expression, that is, becomes the word made flesh with the third. So this slide is explaining kind of the unfoldment here. So the first logos, remember we said, is undifferentiated, homogeneous. The second logos we're going to see is the bridge between, and then the third logos is when manifestation comes into play. Now, we have to remember that this isn't, and we have a slide later on, but I always, when I first think of it, I think, okay, this happens, check, 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 this first logos is done. This happens, check, 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 the second logos is done. But it's not like that. It's more, it's a smooth moving from one stage into the next.
Yes, and also it's important to, you know, there is in the Bhagavad Gita a verse where Krishna says, with a fragment of myself, I manifest the universe and I am not diminished by that, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. The idea is that the first logos, you know, appears, let's say, let's use it again, as Michelle said, clumsy words. Then the second logos differentiates, but it's not that the first logos disappears into the second logos. The first logos is always there. All the levels are always there. And that's why the same in our psyche, all the levels are always there. That's why we can always connect the first logos in our psyche or the absolute in our psyche. They are not just a transformation of the same thing from one stage to the other.
It's more like clouds. So within us, you know, it's more like the absolute or atmic, that at the Buddhic level are just clouded over. They're always there. It's our job through our practice to help the clouds recede.
Yes.
Or be prepared when the clouds recede.
We could also say, for example, like when we talked about the gold made into different objects, The objects are there, but the gold is still there. It's not that the gold disappeared into the object. So, there are different ways in which we can try to conceive of this, in the sense that the logos and the first logos is always there, even though from the first logos, or sometimes Blavatsky would talk about emanation. The idea of emanation gives you the sense that the emanator is still there. So if the first logos emanates the second, you have the sense that the first and the second are still there. But that has its own problems too. The bottom line, we can't really understand this. That's why there are different metaphors. So from a certain point of view, you could say the second logos comes out of the first. From another point of view, you can say the second logos is the first logos expressing itself on the second plane of matter, but its original expression is still there.
Hopefully this will make it a little less muddy. So we have, as we keep talking about, the absolute abstract motion, the great breath, which will manifest or emanate, transform into pre-cosmic ideation, the unmanifested logos, or the Father.
Sometimes Blavatsky would use for that first stage radiation. The first logos radiates within the absolute.
Okay, so then the absolute abstract space into pre-cosmic substance, Mula Prakriti, mother. So then, oops, that's not what we want. There we go. So then we'll call this level out of, within, all around, the absolute, the first logos. Then we have the semi-manifested, which we just mentioned about the second logos being the bridge between the unmanifested cosmos and the manifested cosmos. So this is called semi-manifested. So this is a second logos, and then this is the mother, father. Now, in the unmanifested, we said it's still undifferentiated and homogeneous. So the second logos, which is the bridge, we're going to see a polarization, not a duality, but a polarization, like a moving towards the poles, or moving away from each other, or moving into differentiation. And that's the second logos, which is called Swabhavat.
Yeah, so now that we see this diagram, we could delete father and mother from the first logos, because father and mother they are potentially there, as Blavatsky said. The first thing that appears as something differentiated in the universe is the father-mother, or mother-father. Blavatsky uses both. More often she uses father-mother, but in other places she also uses mother-father. So remember, at the level of the unmanifested cosmos, we still have a formless, uniform, substance, which is not even, differentiated. So the first thing that you can talk about that is something tangible, in quotation marks, is this Swabhavat. It's Swabhavat. That term is actually a misspelling of the Sanskrit term Swabhava, which means its own nature, the true nature of the cosmos. This would be the Swabhava of the cosmos, the true nature. And that's, the secret doctrine says, is the two substances in one. That's why the father-mother. Here is where we have still a unity, but with the polarization inside, in a sense. And that's the father-mother. And then in the next stage, father and mother will separate. So first logos is the potentiality of father and mother. Second logos is the father-mother, the first substance from which everything will come. And the third logos, we will see father and mother seem to be separated.
And that's what you're talking about, the rise of duality. Okay, cosmic stage duality. Manvantaric impulse commences with the reawakening of cosmic ideation, the universal mind, concurrently with and parallel to the primary emergence of cosmic substance, the latter being the Manvantaric vehicle of the former, from its undifferentiated pralaic state. And Pablo already mentioned that Manvantara is the manifestation and the full activity. And then pralaya is the opposite, it's the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go on.
Go
I think
on,
we have
yeah.
do we
Oh,
have?
the other, yeah,
Yeah.
we do. The other thing here is the vehicle. I think, or I need to be reminded at times that consciousness needs a vehicle through which to animate or to express. So here we have the first mention in duality that there is cosmic ideation. Cosmic substance is the vehicle from which cosmic ideation will express itself in the manifested universe.
So you see here, we are already on the cosmic stage. All the rest was pre-cosmic. So what Blavatsky says, as we will see, is that as soon as there is manifestation, as soon as there is a cosmos, we have duality. Anytime we go into unity, we are outside manifestation, whether we are talking about the cosmos as a whole, or we can talk about one plane in particular, one state of consciousness, physical consciousness or astral consciousness or whatever. When you are within the manifestation of the forms of consciousness on that plane, you are in the realm of duality. There cannot be consciousness if there is no duality, as Michel said. There you need the object and subject, etc. When you go into the unity on whatever level, then you come out of manifestation. And you may go into a higher plane, we will see that. But always remember that manifestation is duality. Unity is beyond manifestation.
Spirit and matter are not to be regarded as independent realities, but as the two facets or aspects of the absolute. The contrast of these two aspects is essential to the existence of the manifested universe. Apart from cosmic substance, cosmic ideation could not manifest as individual consciousness, since it is only through a vehicle of matter that consciousness wells up as I am I. Again, apart from cosmic ideation, cosmic substance would remain an empty abstraction. The manifested universe, therefore, is pervaded by duality, which, as it were, the very essence of its existence as manifestation. So here we have in the Secret Doctrine where it's clear that we can't have a true duality, a true separateness that in manifestation, that we can't have spirit without matter. And this makes me think too, somewhere along the line we forgot about this and we think that I can exist without the other. And so we know now, we're figuring out more and more that that's not so, that we have to have, that there is this natural connection, that cosmic web that we saw on the first day, that we are all connected, that there is no separation, which Vedanta would say.
Yeah, several philosophies.
And the other one, I just thought of that. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, the first line, even though we speak of this duality between spirit and matter, Blavatsky says, yes, but that shouldn't give you the impression that spirit and matter are independent realities. They are never really separated, but within the manifested cosmos, they act as if they were separated. And we will see a couple of quotes about that.
Though one and the same thing in their origin, spirit and matter, when once they are on the plane of differentiation, begin each of them their evolutionary progress in contrary directions. Spirit falling gradually into matter, involution, and the latter ascending to its original condition, that of a pure spirit substance. Both are inseparable, yet are separated. I can explain from here. Mm-hmm. So here we have just a quick little diagram with spirit substance from which both spirit and matter emanate. So the spirit is involving or descending into matter. And then our evolutionary pilgrimage is to take the matter and ascend back to the spirit substance, or the one unity, which is what the obligatory pilgrimage is to get from this separated illusional state back to the eternal oneness. Mm-hmm.
So you see Blavatsky emphasizing what we were saying, that even though they are really one, on the plane of illusion, they seem to be two, and they have even opposite directions in evolution. It is in the contrast of these, opposite directions that both spirit and matter develop. It is only by that resistance, that friction, that contrast, that the powers latent in spirit and matter can be developed. And that's why evolution intrinsically has a certain element of friction. Of course, that friction can be very subtle or can be very evident and strong, but there is a basic friction that is necessary. That's why sometimes knowledge is said to come out of, is the fire out of friction. When you have the flint. So sometimes that allegory is used because in that friction between spirit and matter, consciousness awakens.
All right, so here's just another way. Once again, the absolute, the first logos, the second logos, and then we have here the third, the manifested logos, and its spirit aspect, cosmic ideation, Mahat, and its substance aspect, Akasha.
Mm-hmm. So you see they are, in a nice diagram, the lines of development. Remember that the real duality, separation, although not independent, without being independent of each other, but the sense of separation comes at the level of the third logos and the manifested cosmos. And we see there Mahat is a Sanskrit word for the universal mind. And then Akasha is the Sanskrit word used for the spiritual matter, let's say, that substance that is the origin of the manifested matter.
So as we go down, and this is what I've done in the past, we can take each of these words, and they're not actually synonyms, but aspects or differentiations of one another. And then that always helps me when I read or when I study, because then I say, oh, okay, this word goes in this category to start with. Okay, so what we did here was we took these words and put them into what I thought would be the evolution, or that's not what you call it, development of an egg.
So we would be applying the physiological key here that Blavatsky sometimes mentions in The Secret Doctrine, and actually she mentions something related to the embryo, not at this stage, at later stages. She compares the development of the fetus with the development of a solar system. So,
and this came to me this morning, so I pulled it out of the Akasha somewhere. So the egg, when you see the center of the egg, or the nucleus, I know I'm going to stumble on my biology, is homogeneous. It's all the same. You can't see anything differentiated within the cell.
So that would be like the first logos.
Then we go to the second logos, which is that bridge, which is the zygote here, where you have a polarization. So they've polarized or differentiated, but not separated.
Yeah, you still have one single cell, but now you have two nuclei there.
And then you have the two-cell stage where you have the diameter. This just happens to be going horizontally, vertically instead of horizontally, but you'll see you have the diameter, which now we have the separation. Now we have the rise of duality.
So that you see how, in the same way that we said this happens metaphysically, it happens in the human, anthropologically, it happens physiologically. Blavatsky says also happens with the gods, the theogony of the gods, and you can see many statues in Greece, for example, where you have these gods that have the two genders in one. Or in Hinduism also, it's quite common to see deities that have the two genders. So that would be the zygote stage at the level of the gods. And she said, the first gods are always androgynous, and then the lower gods are separated. So you can see here.
So those are using the different keys.
The different keys, yeah.
Okay, now we're into the fourth stage, and you can see here where we started out with a diameter, we now have an intersection, and this would be the third logos where we have multiplicity, or into
The
the
beginning of
in the beginning
multiplicity.
of multiplicity, and then
Now we haven't shown the symbols that Blavatsky uses for the logos. We will, and you will see that they are just exactly as this. The first logos is a circle with
a dot,
a dot in the center.
and then a circle with a diameter,
That's the second logos.
and then a circle with a cross, which is the vertical
Yeah.
intersection,
That's the third logos.
and then the swastika, which is the multiplicity. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about that third aspect of the manifested cosmos. But just as the opposite poles of subject and object, spirit and matter, are but aspects of the one unity in which they are synthesized, so in the manifested universe, there is that which links spirit to matter, subject to object. That something is called by the occultists Fohat. So just a quick word on Fohat. It's not a word that anybody has been able to find a root to. It's a term that was used by the adepts, and so that we really don't know the origin.
Yeah, sometimes HPV says it's Tibetan, but it's not Tibetan. Sometimes she says it's Chinese Tibetan or Mongolian, or, you know, but the best guess is that this is actually from the Zenzar, which is a secret language that the adepts use. There are also references from HPV that it comes from Zenzar.
And that's kind of a by process of elimination. They're not able to find this root in any other language.
Yeah, we you know, different scholars in the Theosophical tradition have been looking for the root of this word. There are some speculations that it can be Chinese or something, but we haven't been able to find it.
Okay. So once again, we're talking here about a link, a bridge, and Fohat is that link, that bridge between spirit and matter.
And this is an important, in the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky says, this, it doesn't say there. No.
Like the next one.
Blavatsky says that which Western speculation doesn't know about. She says occultism brings the answer. And what she's referring to is the typical problem that came with Descartes, the philosopher, the French philosopher, where he postulated that there were in us two substances, mind and matter, pretty much like ideation and substance, or mind and matter. But then later philosophers criticized that view because they said, okay, if mind, Descartes said, mind is immaterial and matter is material and with no intelligence. So if you have something immaterial, how is the interaction between the two? It's like the ghost in the machine, you know, they use that phrase. If you have a ghost that is not physical, how could a ghost operate a machine? You know, we have some movies where there may be a ghost and it's trying to touch things and it just goes through. So Blavatsky, so they normally disregard the Descartes idea of dualism because they say this just doesn't work. But Blavatsky says, yes, it does work if you introduce the third element, an element that can interact with both. This is a bridge. It's an element that responds to the changes of consciousness and that is able to produce changes in matter. That bridge is Fohat, and we will see a little more about that.
And the idea of this also is in an artist, anybody trying to create anything. You have all the ideas and you have the matter there from which you want to paint or sculpt or write a book or anything like that. And there's something that gap needs to be bridged. Now it happens so naturally, so we don't think about a third element from which the duality.
Like the arms if you are a painter,
right,
you know.
Right.
So Fohat would be like the arms of a painter.
All right. Fohat is the bridge by which the ideas existing in the divine thought are impressed on cosmic substance as the laws of nature. It is thus the dynamic energy of cosmic ideation, or regarded from the other side, It is the intelligent medium, the guiding power of all manifestation. The thought divine, transmitted and made manifest through the celestial beings, the architects of the visible world.
Yeah, that's more or less what we have been saying. This is, there is the idea, cosmic ideation has the plan for the universe. When we say plan, don't think of a plan as we understand it. We could say the DNA is the plan for that individual. And we are talking allegorically. The DNA as a molecule has nothing to do with the plan as we understand it. But we could say, yes, the DNA is the plan, the blueprint for a human being. Similarly, the logos, the cosmic ideation, the manifested logos, Mahat, the universal mind, these are all, synonyms, has the plan for the universe. Now that plan needs to be impressed on matter. So it is through Fohat, which is energy, which, as we are going to see, Blavatsky calls it
or cosmic electricity.
Cosmic electricity, etc. That is what transfers, in a sense, this is all allegorical, the ideas in the mind of the logos into matter, so that the cosmos is shaped following the cosmic ideation.
Right. So going back to the example of the artist creating something, instead of it being the arms, what I try to do is in meditation is think, what is it that is, I have the ideas in my head, I have the ideation, I have the blueprints, I know what I want to do, and then I have the material sitting in front of me. And so if I stop and think and ponder, what is that medium that gets me from thinking to doing? And it usually is, in a light sense, it usually is the energy. I need the energy to transfer those ideas into something physical.
Yeah, definitely. We know that thought per se doesn't have the energy to make it happen. People who are purely intellectual, they tend to stay at the level of the ideas. In the human psychology, the emotional aspect, the kamic aspect, is a manifestation of Fohat. And that is desire is what makes you actually manifest what you have in your mind. So people who don't have a Fohatic principle, then they stay just in the world of ideas.
So here is just the same diagram with all the players. So the manifested cosmos, the manifested cosmos, and which is also the manifested logos. Then we have the third element, the cosmic energy, Fohat.
And that's the manifested triad. We saw an absolute triad, the three aspects of the absolute.
Triad-less triad.
Yeah, and that is reflected in the manifested triad of cosmic ideation, cosmic substance, and cosmic energy.
From thus spirit or cosmic ideation comes our consciousness. From cosmic substance, the several vehicles in which the consciousness is individualized and attains to self-consciousness or reflective consciousness. While Fohat, in its various manifestations, is the mysterious link between mind and matter, the animating principle electrifying every atom into life. So here we see in this first sentence, thus from spirit comes our consciousness. And so that's a little bit of a delineation between spirit and consciousness. When Fohat animates spirit, then we have our consciousness.
Yes, we could think of spirit as the white light, and consciousness, it would be the colors, the different colors. Because when the spirit manifests through the mental plane, then it appears as mental consciousness. When the spirit manifests through the emotional plane, let's say, it appears as emotional consciousness. So consciousness is the manifestation of the spirit.
And here we have that. So from cosmic ideation or Mahat, we have the various states of consciousness. From cosmic energy or Fohat, we have the various forces of nature. And from cosmic substance or Akasha, we have the various planes of matter, which she tells us is also the vehicle for consciousness. He is one, and 7. And
Talking about
he,
Fohat.
yeah, he Fohat. So Fohat is 1 and 7. And on the cosmic plane is behind all such manifestations as light, heat, sound, adhesion, etc., and is the spirit of electricity, which is the life of the universe. Thus, while science speaks of its evolution through brute matter, blind force, and senseless motion, the occultists point to intelligent law and sentient life, and add that Fohat is the guiding spirit of all of this. Yet, Fohat is no personal God at all.
It's for people who study Blavatsky, Blavatsky always refers to spirit and all that as it, not as he, but she made a point of referring to Fohat as a he for a philosophical reason. She says Fohat is the male counterpart of the cosmic energies. Shakti is the female counterpart of the cosmic energies. Remember that once we are in manifestation, we have the duality. So Fohat is the male counterpart. That's why she says he is 1 and 7. She doesn't say it. When referring to the Shaktis and all that, she talks of them as feminine. And the female logos also, she talks about she as the female counterpart of the logo.
So in your example of the Greek gods, I think you said Greek gods, that start out androgynous and then separate down, there's always a female and a male counterpart in Hinduism also. So, and even in our manifested universe, in our daily life, there are male counterparts and female counterparts.
Yeah. So if you are seeing gods that are male or female, you are on the side of manifestation when Fohat is there. If you are seeing gods that are androgynous, then you are in the previous state, the second logos, the Swabhava, as we said.
Okay, from cosmos to man. So here we have 3 diagrams that just put into diagram form what we've been talking about and some correspondences that we've made. So here are the symbols that you can see. The circle, that corresponds to the number 0, which corresponds to the word beyond, which corresponds to the absolute reality. The circle,
as we said, beyond, the words is you will understand there as you go through. Beyond, because we said the absolute is beyond everything, beyond any system. So it cannot be even said to be the unity, because the absolute is even beyond the unity in a certain sense.
So the circle with the dot is the 1, the unity, and the first logos. The circle with the diameter is the 2, the duality, the second logos. The circle with the cross is the 3, the triplicity, and the third logos. And then the circle with the swastika is the multiplicity. So it's the 7, the 12, the 30, and so on. And that's the Fohat.
Yeah, so you see they are the symbols that we were talking about that are similar to how the cells actually look. And Fohat is the one that brings out of that essential triad. Fohat is the one that brings multiplicity, that takes the plan from the cosmic ideation and begins to develop the whole cosmos, the multiplicity. At the level of numbers, the secret doctrine talks about 7, from 3 into 7. We will see that next tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. The number 12 is also important in this process of manifestation. The number 30, 12 times 30 is 360. That is the full circle. You see in the stanzas, there is the Sanskrit word tridasa, which means 30, when talking about the manifestation of the celestial beings. So 30 probably represents the totality, the full circle when connected to the 12. So these are, we are in the second part, we are going to use this to be applied to meditation.
So here we've dropped out the numbers. So the circle, the beyond, the absolute reality in our human constitution correlates with our higher self or Atman. The circle with the dot, unity, first logos, is our spiritual wisdom or Buddhi. The diameter, duality, second logos, our higher mind, manas. The cross, the circle with the cross, the triplicity, third logos, and lower mind or manas, and the swastika, multiplicity, fohat, and our passional nature or kama, that fiery aspect within us.
Yes, of course, Blavatsky would say cosmic karma. Karma is the Sanskrit word that, when applied to human beings, is many times a negative aspect, or seen as a negative aspect. It's the source of our passions, etc. But Blavatsky would say that at a cosmic level, she talked about Kama Deva. Deva is God. Kama is actually the source of love, the source of compassion, universal love, universal compassion. And she would talk about Fohat as Eros. Eros not in the sense of, you know, the more sexual aspect of love, but she says in the original Greek teachings, you had Eros and Cupid. Cupid had to do more with romantic relationship, etc. Eros had to do with universal love. And she talks about Fohat as Eros. So Fohat is connected in human beings with the emotional aspect, with, you know, that can be manifested in a spiritual way or in a more, you know, physiological way, let's say.
But we can take that, you know, kama, we usually hear about it as the animal nature within us. But all of the lower aspects can all be, that's the idea of the spiritual path, is to purify, to make whole again into something that can be used by the higher consciousness.
Yes, and it is called animal nature because in the process of evolution, this principle is awakened in the animal kingdom, and then we inherit it.
Okay. All right, so the last slide in this section, and then we'll go to questions. So now we have...
Maybe this is also a good introduction for the next part.
Oh, is it?
So,
you want to do that?
Let us do that since we have a few questions.
Okay, all right.
From Ed Moskowitz, maybe the word activity is good. The second logos is the activity of the first logos.
Mm.
Right, so what is that called? Relative, when you look at it like subject, object, subject as you go down. So yes, so Ed's saying that the third logos is the activity of the second logos is the activity of the first logos.
Yeah, I think he means when we were saying, you know, it's the second logos, you know, the first logos or is separate, is different. So when we are looking at it, we could say the second logos is the activity of the first logos. And then, as you said, then the third logos could be the activity. Yes, we need to think about all these things so that we have a concept that is malleable enough, because many theosophies think that the second logos is a different entity from the first, or the opposite. They think that the second logos is the first and the first is gone now. Now it's the second and then it's the third. So every way in which we put it gives us an aspect of the truth. So talking about the activity, you know, the second logos is the first logos differentiating, you know, working on differentiation, and the third logos is, you know, the previous working on duality. Yeah, we can do something like that.
Also, when we talked about the three fundamental propositions, we saw that they all went back to unity. You know, the first fundamental proposition started in unity. The second fundamental proposition was about the cycles within the unity. And then the third fundamental proposition was about the pilgrimage within the unity. So I think when we talk about any of this, we have to first put it in the perspective of the unity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
From Susan, how real is our possibility of going beyond the manifested universe while in the physical vehicle?
It depends on what level of the manifested universe. Again, what all this means is that the manifested universe is available right here, right now, as it is available on the physical plane. So whenever you in meditation go into silence, and we will see that in the second part, you are out of the manifested cosmos within the physical plane. Then if you get through, you will be born, or you will come into a higher plane, the next plane, the astral plane. That is a different cosmos in a sense, if we take the physical plane as a cosmos itself. And then again, you can work your way out of the astral cosmos. So the possibility of getting out of the cosmos on any plane is available when you are aware on that particular plane. So if you are asking what's the possibility of getting out of the manifested cosmos, and you are talking about Atman, out of Atma Buddhi, all the 7 principles, well, that happens only after you become a Mahatma, the 5th initiation, etc. But again, if that is reflected right now, my role is not to try to get out of Atma. My role is to learn how to get out of the duality on the physical plane. And that's what we can do in meditation.
And once again, in Pablo's book, Evolution of the Higher Consciousness, there's a chapter on the states of consciousness. And there are activities that we can do on the physical plane to kind of, to touch the touchstone of the astral plane. And as we on our physical plane, as we get to those different states of consciousness, we're touchstoning, that's not the right word, we're tapping into that level on a different plane.
Yes, we will see that. It's not, again, as we said yesterday, it's not that necessarily we need to be aware on the astral plane or not. Those are different paths that people may take. But we need to learn, and we will see that in the second part, we need to learn to look at this in a symbolic way. So the astral plane is a plane where our objects are subjective. So whenever you close your eyes and you are in your imagination, you are like in the astral plane of the physical plane, you see? So we, as Michelle said, all that is explained in the Evolution of the Higher Consciousness, but we will see how this can be applied in meditation.
From Carolyn, can you explain why the symbol for triplicity divides the circle into 4?
Mm-hmm.
I can give my explanation first. So the diameter, anytime we have, like I said, it's not cut and dry from one stage to the next. So from that point of the unity, we have a diameter, and that diameter symbolizes the duality. Once you have a duality, you have that triplicity. You have that, you can't have 2 without the 3. So there are examples of the Holy Triad, the Holy Trinity, sorry, yeah, Christianity just went. And when we have love and hate, that third is the relationship between the 2. So that third is the relationship. So if you look at it as 2 lines from the center and the third one coming down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you could count, there are 3 elements. They are the circle and the 2 lines. You can also think, Blavatsky talks about the 3 falling into 4 in the process of manifestation. And the 3 into 4, like a pyramid with a square at the bottom. So a pyramid of 4 sides.
With a cube.
Yeah, with a square at the bottom. Pyramid with 4 sides, you have a square at the bottom. So that you have, the 4 represents the manifestation, and the 3 represents like the higher nature. So this could be like a pyramid looking from above. But all symbols are good only from one point of view. As Michelle said, the idea of the cross is basically when, duality comes into being. If you see electromagnetism moves with the electric field and the magnetic field, they are in, like a cross. And within manifestation, you see many times like these, perpendicular forces are very often present in manifestation. So I think that refers not so much to the triplicity aspect, that symbol, but to how manifestation works. Again, this friction, you know, this idea, more than the triplicity. And of course, the swastika, for those who may not know, this is was always a sacred symbol in India, in Greece, in everywhere, in Rome. Before the Second War, you know, even Coca-Cola had a swastika. There was here in California, the swastika fruits and vegetables. And Blavatsky used it before, you know, even Nazism had been developed. And this is a sacred symbol, unfortunately defiled by evil people, but it is a sacred symbol, and even if evil people defile it, I think we have to work to bring back, you know, its purity. And of course, that's a problem only in the West. In India, people get a new house, the first thing they do is to draw the swastika there, because the swastika means good luck, you know, well-being, etc.
And both Leadbeater and Annie Besant talk about that in detail, about taking back the symbols or adding energy to the symbols to what they truly are. But I wanted to say, if we were really good with animation, you would be able to see the pattern or the motion that happens from the circle to the dot, to the diameter, to the cross. And then from there, as this Fohat comes in, this triplicity, then that cross starts to move. And when that cross starts to move, we have the swastika.
Mm-hmm.
One more.
From Fiona, could the Fohat area, the bridge, be described as metamorphosis?
Yes, we could do that, because it's the one that brings all kinds of forms into being. So we could do that.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not sure who this is from. Didn't the Germans use the swastika turning in the opposite direction, anti-clockwise?
Yes, they used it in, I mean, Blavatsky used the swastika in both ways. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the swastika is used in both ways. Sometimes it is said that the swastika that we have in the emblem, in the Theosophical seal, that is the opposite way that Hitler used it. But the swastika that is most famous among the Hindus is the swastika that Hitler used. So when Blavatsky used the swastika, you know, before Hitler was even born, she used it as in the way the Hindus use it for the most part. That is what Hitler took. Basically, Hitler took the Hindu swastika. So you will see that it is present in both ways.
And that's the swastika spinning both ways, is the female and the male aspect, or the creative and the destructive aspect.
Yeah, you can use it, but as all symbols, they have different meanings with different traditions.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back at 15 at the hour.
After the hour.
After the hour, wherever you are, hopefully everywhere covers that. All right. Thank you. Now welcome back. All right. So in the second half, as we have done in the other classes, we're going to go through the exercises, or how this correlates, these ideas, these concepts, how they correlate into our everyday practice. So first we wanted to finish the diagram here, or the table that we have here. So as we start with what we did, just to give a quick review. Okay. What we did was we took the symbols, the words of way, and now we have the cosmic principles, the human constitution, and the mental state. So absolute, higher self, Atma, correlates to the cloud of unknowing.
Yeah, so what we are going to do, just as we can correlate the cosmic principles with the human constitution, you know, taking the human being as a whole, we can also correlate these cosmic principles with the different mental states. Now we are not looking at the whole human being, we are looking at our different mental states, which this will be the foundation for meditation. So the absolute would be correlated to that which the Christian mystic would call the cloud of unknowing, or as in Hinduism, they would call the Laya center, or sometimes Blavatsky mentions it as the 0 point, as it was mentioned yesterday. So the absolute has to do with that aspect in our consciousness where we go into non-manifestation, as we were saying before the break.
It's also known as a darkness.
Yeah, the divine darkness, silence, etc.
All right, then first logos, spiritual wisdom, Buddhi, and the knower.
Yeah, so, within us, there is the knower, we are the self, the knower, and then there are things that we get to know, that we get to perceive. So the first logos would be just the knower.
Is this also the witness?
Yeah, we can call it the witness, the self as opposed
The
to the
observer.
non-self, the observer as opposed to the observed. And we will see how this works in meditation, but now we are just laying out the principles.
Second logos, higher mind, manas, the knower and the known.
Yeah, here we see the duality at the level of the second logos that would represent in our minds when we are working in duality. There is the knower and there is the known.
The third logos, lower mind, manas, the knower engaging with the known.
So that's a triplicity in the sense that there is not only the knower and the known, but we are
That relationship.
in relationship.
Fohat, passional nature, kama, everyday activity.
Yeah, so that's multiplicity. So in this particular, what we are going to do is to get rid of the human constitution aspect there and see how the cosmos can be applied to our mental states and how that impacts meditation.
Okay, so this, all that we're doing here is we're reversing the process of manifestation. So we're starting in the diversity or the multiplicity, and the idea is to get back to the unity. And manifestation does the opposite. It goes from the unity to the diversity or the multiplicity.
Yeah, so we are already in the diversity. What meditation is essentially is coming back to the unity that is always there, that, unmanifested aspect that is always there available. And that's why we can do this coming back.
Okay, the multiplicity. I am so-and-so, I want this, I'm a parent, I don't like that. The various thoughts, the various emotions, the various thinking process, the various actions, memories, this is all part of the multiplicity.
Yeah, so when applied to the human consciousness, multiplicity is when we are engaged in all of this. This is our daily life.
So the symbol is the swastika. The word is the multiplicity, fohat, and this is our normal activity. So the triplicity, as we said, is myself, what is outside myself, and that relationship in between, my knowing of what is outside. Applying the psychological key to this, Pablo calls it the psychological triplicity, is my awareness, my thoughts, emotions, etc., and the engagement or that relationship with them.
Yeah, so this is the foundation. We are getting a step back. The fact that we relate to the world is based on the existence of these three elements. My awareness, if I'm not aware of the world, if I faint, I cannot be engaged. I'm not in a normal activity. So the multiplicity depends on the existence of these three elements. My awareness, the things that I am aware of. If I am active, I have to be aware of the people I'm talking to. But if we are looking into applying this to meditation, the things I am aware of would be my thoughts, my emotions, the sensations that come through the senses. And then there is normally a reaction, a response to that. So there is myself, there are the things that I'm seeing or the people that I'm talking to, and there is the relationship that brings us together. So this is where we start in meditation. We start in the triplicity. I sit down, let's say, close my eyes, start watching my thoughts, and then what normally happens is that we start judging the thoughts or reacting to them or the emotions or trying to silence them. We are engaged with them. That's the basic triplicity.
And that's what's shown here. So the idea is in these diagrams and in the meditation is to go from one stage to the other to take away. So when we sit in meditation, we're taking away our everyday activity. We're no longer cleaning, cooking, working, taking care of things. We've taken that away. We've taken that out of the equation and we're sitting. So when we sit in meditation, we're now talking about the triplicity. We start out with the thoughts, we start out with the awareness, and we start out with the relationship between the two.
And there is usually the sense that I am my thoughts, I am my emotions. That's why I'm engaged with them. There is a negative thought that I don't like, and then I try to replace it for a positive one, or whatever we do in meditation. That state of consciousness is the sense of I am my thoughts and my emotions.
Right. So I am angry.
Yeah, I am angry, I am peaceful, I am this or that.
So then we come to the next level, the duality. This is ceasing engagement with the psychological activity. So we're first doing it in our sitting meditation, and then the idea is to take this out into our daily practice too, or into our daily lives, to extend our practice from the cushion into every day. So,
but we will continue looking in meditation in this particular example.
Okay.
No, yeah,
okay.
That's fine.
So, so the three things were my awareness, the emotions, and the relationship or the engagement with them. So now we're at a stage in our meditation where we're taking out the engagement. So now we're just my awareness and the thoughts and the emotions that are going there. Or we could say the knower and the known.
Yeah. So this is why in meditation, to come from this phase, from the phase of triplicity to that of duality, this is why the instructions in meditation typically is watch your thoughts and your emotions without reacting to them, without labeling them, without trying to control them, without engaging with them. So in meditation, when we start watching our thoughts and emotions with that equanimity, little by little, we transition from the triplicity where I'm fully engaged with them to this duality where there are thoughts and emotions and there is myself watching them, but I'm not reacting to them.
And we're shifting our consciousness too.
Yeah, that's how you raise your consciousness.
Right. I mean, we're shifting it from the multiplicity to everything out here. We're shifting it to the next stage where we have did I say triplicity? Sorry, so thoughts, emotion, and the engagement, and now we're in the duality stage. So that's here. It's this disengaged awareness, this detachment, this taking out that third player.
Yeah, and the equanimity, we can call it in different ways. Krishnamurti would call it passive awareness, passive in the sense that you are simply aware of what is there without getting involved. So this is the way to raise your consciousness from the level of triplicity to that of a duality.
Or I've heard it called choiceless awareness.
Yeah.
All right, so then comes the unity. So the mind becomes silent and there's just my awareness, or just the knower, just the observer, just the silent witness.
Mm-hmm. So as we position ourselves in that kind of disengaged awareness, little by little, naturally, the thoughts and emotions begin to wane until, they just stop. And then there are moments of this silent awareness, this silent perception, where only you are there. There is only, the awareness. There is only the knower, in a sense. And that would be the transition from duality into unity. And that's the silent self-awareness. Silent because there are no thoughts or emotions any longer.
Can you touch on self-awareness at this level as opposed to self-awareness? I know who I am. I know what I'm doing.
Yes, normally what we call self-awareness is a misnomer. Who is the self that you are talking about? If I think I'm the thoughts, then self-awareness is being aware of my thoughts. So it's fine, we use it in that way. But when I say I'm self-aware of my body, you know, be aware how your body moves, don't be bumping everywhere. So we say be self-aware, and that's actually be aware of the body or be aware of your emotions. It's not true self-awareness, but in conventional language, we call it like that. In this case, we left behind everything. We left behind physical activities, emotional activities, mental activities, so that there is true self-awareness. The awareness that is there is awareness of just the self, that is what is left there, you know. So this is still within the realm of the mind. You are still aware of yourself on the mental level. You know, you are not actively thinking, but there is still awareness of myself. Like in the cloud of unknowing, the author would say, we have to plunge ourselves in this, you know, cloud of unknowing, where we leave behind our thoughts, memories, wishes, all that is left behind in the second and third state,
Which
logos.
is the cloud of forgetting.
Yeah, the cloud of forgetting. You
Plunge
live
into or beyond the cloud of
yeah, you
forgetting.
leave everything in the cloud of forgetting, and you immerse yourself in the cloud of unknowing, that is the silent self-awareness. But the author says, even there, you are still aware of yourself. You are not aware of God. You left everything behind, but you are aware of yourself, your pure self, in a sense. So this is the stage. It's a high stage, but you are still within the realm of the mental awareness. So moving into the next stage is when you get out of the manifested cosmos, you know, at the mental level in this case.
So this is the door to beyond, conscious, non-consciousness, the Laya state.
Yeah, which we talked about yesterday. There is a deeper state in meditation where you lose even the awareness of yourself, but you don't lose awareness. It's a stage, you know, this is where the confusion comes in many traditions, because traditions that know that you have to go beyond even your self-awareness, they sometimes think that what you are looking is for non-awareness, to lose all awareness. The esoteric tradition says that is not the case. You are not searching for merely the absence of awareness. You are searching for a different state, which Blavatsky would call conscious non-consciousness, for example. It's always taught in paradoxes, because it's not awareness in the sense of I am aware of something, whether myself or my thoughts or whatever it is. And it's not just fainting. It's not just being unaware. It's something that is neither or both. So there is just awareness, an awareness that is not self-reflective. It's just being present without thinking or noticing that you are present. There is only presence there. And that would be the Laya state, which if you can stay in the Laya state, quietly, that is the door to go beyond that particular plane of the cosmos. Of course, at that state, all effort is abandoned. You can't really push your way through this state because you are lost already in the previous stage. You with effort, you can come only to the silent awareness with your will, with your trying. And then you can just dwell there in non-effort, and then the transition eventually will happen.
That's the grace.
That's a grace. That's why the mystics talk about the grace. This is something that you cannot do. From a theosophical point of view, the idea is that there is like an inertia that begins to be developed. The reason why we don't go through the Laya state is because we still have like a magnetic connection to the lower states. So the more we dwell on that Laya state, that magnetic connection to the lower states begins to wane, and then there is like an attraction that begins to be born to the higher state. So at some point, the transition will happen because there is this shifting of attraction. The only way to generate that is just to dwell in that silent awareness, as much as possible, and little by little, there will be this transition of forces.
All right. And that fills in the table there.
Yeah, that will be the absolute reality. So you see here how you can apply the process of manifestation to the human mind, and you can use this as a map for meditation. You know, you have to come from this to this, from this to this. You know, it's a nice map that you can use, and you have there the different states of mind, being engaged with the thoughts, then the disengaged awareness, then the silent awareness, and just dwelling in silence for the other things to come up.
Okay, so that is that.
We don't.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
So what I want to ask is, I can pull up the diagram of the states of consciousness and the different levels, if that's wouldn't be too confusing right now.
I don't know
from evolution,
Okay.
because we've talked about it.
Okay, we can talk about that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I can look
stop
at
the
that.
share.
Yeah, and I can look at that. So
Meanwhile,
we do have a question.
yeah.
From Susan. So the Laya state is Buddhi, or is it higher manas, presence that has no center? There can be grace, that is awareness, that is aware, but not aware as a self.
Yeah. Again, what the Laya state is depends on what system you are taking. If you are taking the human being as a whole, the Laya state would be Atman. If you are taking our mental principle, let's say the manasic principle, within manas, the Laya state is the highest mental activity, and what you have beyond the mental activity is Buddhi, as you say. So this is like a fractal. You know what a fractal is? You have an image, and you can go into that image, and then that image is repeated smaller, and then you go into that image and it's repeated smaller again. So this is, you come from the cosmos, and you take the whole human being, and it's a reflection of the cosmos. Or you take one of the human principles, the manasic principle, or the kamic principle, or the physical, whatever, and there again, you have all the levels of the cosmos. So in the way that we are doing it, to be precise, we are actually talking about the mental states of consciousness that happen on the physical plane, because in meditation, you are doing this meditation while in the body. You can do meditation also on the astral plane, on the mental plane, etc. So this reflection happens multiple times on multiple levels. So what we are reflecting is the cosmos into the physical plane, into the mental states of consciousness that are possible in the physical plane. So when you go beyond the mental plane, on the physical plane, you would continue the meditation on the astral plane, let's say. Now, this is where it gets complicated. So if it is too confusing to any of you, it doesn't matter. Don't worry too much. You don't need.
Turn your.
Yeah, you don't need
down.
to see all the details. But with Susan, in previous classes, we have discussed a little this. Now, when this happens, if this is happening on the mental plane, then yes, you would go into Buddhi. The idea is, basically, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what label you put. The process is always the same. In whatever plane you are, go always into the silence, go always into the non-duality, go always into leaving behind the multiplicity. And then you will go to the next plane, whatever that is. Remember that I mentioned, Annie Besant mentions that there is the possibility of going from silence to silence. So this meditation could take you either to the astral plane and you continue your meditation on the astral plane, or it could actually take you to the non-consciousness of the astral plane, and from there jump into the conscious non-consciousness of the mental plane. This is what normally mystics do. Mystics are not interested in perceptions. They are not interested in the creation. They are interested in going into the silence, disregarding creation, because they want to get to the creator. So if your mood is into going deeper and deeper into silence, that is what happens. You skip the subplanes that are in between. But again, all this is quite technical. For practical purposes, I want to keep it simple. The process that we are describing there repeats on any level, so you can just follow that.
Okay, I have this, if I can get it. This. All right, are you seeing the PowerPoint again?
Yeah.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so this is where we left off. So this is the part I've been talking about in the last 2 classes and mentioned again today. To me, this is how we bridge the different sub-levels of each of the planes.
Yeah, and this is we just described into meditation. This would be applied to your daily living. How can you go through all these different stages in an activity like doing the dishes?
This is doing the dishes. So you're going to start out, your level of awareness is to the actions. It's external. It's in the multiplicity.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of doing the dishes. You're fully engaged in it. You're feeling the water. You're feeling the dishes. You're hearing the sounds going on. Okay, so you're performing everything, perform every action purposefully. Then to go to to retreat inwards a little bit more, you're at the bridge, the external and the internal. So this, now you're shifting your awareness back, so to say, begin to watch the motion of your hand. So you're no longer watching the multiplicity, you're now watching more in the triplicity area. You're watching your hands, you're watching what the doer is doing.
Yeah, because in the previous one, you have the sense, I am the body doing the dishes. You are fully engaged in the multiplicity. Now, when you start watching your body doing the dishes, it's like you are separating yourself. It's this duality. There is me and there is the body doing the dishes. Me as the knower, and then the body is doing the dishes.
And then you retreat inwards just a little bit more to the thinker, this internal part. And this is pay attention to your mind, pay attention to the emotions, to the thoughts that are going on while you're doing the dishes.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah. So that would be, probably at that point you should stop doing the dishes because you will break them, if you are really truly focused on. Now, but it can be done, like right now you are listening to ourselves. You know that you are here, don't you? There is a sense of being. I am present. I am here. So in this point, it would be you remain doing the dishes, but now you are aware of this pure sense of being, of presence. So that would be being aware of the knower itself. You come from the duality where you are somehow aware of the body and yourself as different. If you can step back into the sense of being present. Right now, you are listening to us, and you can be aware that you are present, sitting, for example. All this is there together. That's like a sense of unity, where you are not really judging or anything. You are just observing, and this sense of just being begins to shine through.
And that would be the doer.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying attention to the doer. You were in the second stage, you were paying attention to the doing, what the body's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the first stage in this diagram, you're paying attention to the done, what the things that you're doing are done.
Yeah.
So then the pure being, didn't you mention that just now?
Oh, the simple sense of being. Yeah. I jumped to that. So in this book, I wasn't trying to correlate it to the logoi in particular, but you can trace the same steps there. The process is the same, and we could relate it. All these correlations are flexible. It's more
and
or less
imperfect.
it's more or less to give you a sense. That's what Blavatsky always, would mean when you work with this, you have to be flexible. This is not the scientific, narrow, exclusive way of thinking. This is a more fluid, symbolic, metaphorical way of seeing that is part of the higher mind. The higher mind recognizes the patterns. The lower mind goes into the detail and the contrasts and this or that. But when you try to perceive patterns, then you are beginning to activate the higher mind.
And it's a stage too that we have to remember. You talked about that fluidity, that we're not getting to someplace. It's not like, oh, I get it now, I can close the book and put it away. It's, oh, I get it, this point in time right now, what is there beyond? What is there more that I can do to practice? So that, all right, so yeah, I love this diagram. So that's why I wanted to keep talking about it and I wanted to show it. Are there any questions? Okay, do you have anything more to add? Okay.
We can, within the same subject,
Yeah.
we could talk about this idea of Jagrat and all that. So maybe why don't you?
I can find that.
Yeah, great. Because this was asked yesterday. So in the same vein, trying to understand all these different teachings of states of consciousness and how there are states within states. In Hinduism, there is this idea of 4 states of consciousness, what they call in Sanskrit Jagrat, that is the physical, the waking state. Right now, unless you fell asleep, you are in Jagrat. Then we have, they talk about Swapna, which is the dreaming state. That's when we go to sleep, we are dreaming, we are engaged with the world, but that is an inner world. In Jagrat, in the waking consciousness, we are engaged with the world that is external. In Swapna, in the dreaming state, we are engaged with the world, but it's all a world internal, created by the mind, let's say. Then there is a higher state that is Sushupti, that is deep sleep, when you are not dreaming. At that point, there is nothing there. There is only silence. There is a deep sleep. You are not dreaming. There are no contents of consciousness. So there is only silence. And then beyond that, there is the Turiya, what they call Turiya, that means the 4th, which is a state that is beyond manifestation. So again, we could say Jagrat, waking state, is multiplicity. Then Swapna, the dreaming state, is more the duality, in the sense that this is all happening within your own mind. There are no real objects outside that you are relating to. Then you have Sushupti, that is the silence, that is only the pure consciousness is there. There are no objects of consciousness. And then the beyond, that is the Turiya. Now these planes, as we will see here, can be correlated to principles and also are repeated on each plane. So yes, that's one of them, and then the other, the Turiya of Turiya. But here we see how then the Jagrat, we start with the Jagrat, that is the waking state, that corresponds to the physical body. Because when we are in Jagrat, when we are awake, our consciousness is working through the physical body. In the dreaming state, our consciousness, not the other way.
Oh man, I was looking so good at this.
That's fine. In Swapna, the dreaming state, our consciousness is on the astral body, let's say, Kama Manas there, because the physical body is sleeping. We left it behind. In Sushupti state, consciousness is in Buddhi Manas, and then in the last state, Turiya, consciousness is in Atma Buddhi. So you can see the correlation to the principles.
Okay, I'm gonna
stop sharing so that you can look for the other one. Now, all those states, again, can be manifested on the physical plane. So for example, when you are in the physical plane, you are awake, but if you are daydreaming, you are like in the dreaming state of the physical plane. You see, in the dreaming state of the waking consciousness. If you close your eyes and you start visualizing, you are also in the dreaming state of the waking consciousness, because the objects that are there in your consciousness are not external objects. They are internal objects. So if you close your eyes and you don't visualize anything, you are in pure silence, you are in the Sushupti state. The Sushupti is the deep sleep, but the Sushupti state of the waking consciousness. You are awake, but you are in pure silence. So you see how all these planes reflect on each one of the planes. And the reason why this may be useful is because, again, because of these maps of consciousness. So you know you have to get to Turiya, to that state that is beyond. So how do you go about, to do this? Well, the waking consciousness is being engaged with the external world. So the first thing you have to do is to shut the external world off. And then you are with your internal world of thoughts, emotions, etc. If you can leave that behind, then you are in the pure silence of Sushupti. And if you can go beyond that, then you are in the Turiya of the waking state, because you are meditating and you are awake. You didn't fall asleep.
It's written, it's not in a table.
Okay,
I
that's
thought
fine.
it was a table too.
That's fine, I just
Yeah.
explained it.
Yeah.
So again, when yesterday was talked about, asked about the different, the inner planes, I always look at this as all the inner planes are reflected on each plane. So right here on the physical plane, Atman is available, Buddhi is available, Manas is available within the physical plane while we are awake. Then if we are aware on the astral plane, like when our body's asleep, or if in meditation we go out of the body, then again, Atma is available there, Buddhi is available there. On each higher plane, the Atma shines through less encumbered with matter. It's like the Atman that expresses itself on the physical plane is very dull compared to the Atman on the Atmic plane. The more it goes into matter, the less brilliant or shiny it is. But anyway, as long as you are aware on the physical plane, your first step is to step into that Atman on the physical plane. And then from there, you can keep going.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, can you hand me those books?
Yeah, and we can get a little time while you talk about this.
I thought I'd do this now. So what I did was I found, I brought some books today that I use to further explain or to highlight these concepts. And I've read them many times before, but while doing this class, I read them again, and it was really nice to go, oh, okay, I get that now, instead of just being these random words on a page. So because Pablo's book's not out, I wanted to give some ideas about where to get the concepts. Now, when Pablo's books come out, what the difference is why you should buy this book instead of just reading these, is what Pablo covers in this book is these exercises that we're talking about, these correspondences, the psychological key, taking these concepts from the Secret Doctrine and making it personal, making it objective, making it so we can use it every day.
Yeah, these books are like that Michelle will show you, and there are many more, are typical books explaining the basic concepts in the Secret Doctrine, which our book will also do. But as we talked about, normally most authors, for whatever reason, didn't try to see how that applies or how that can be interpreted with the psychological key.
Yeah, so these, and I brought these because these are two older books that were on our bookshelf that I forgot were there, and they were kind of little gems. So one is Commentaries, I can't read what it says, by Alfred Taylor.
Commentaries and Analogies.
All right. And then the other one is Selected Studies in the Secret Doctrine by Lancre. I forget what his first name is. Solomon Lancre.
Yeah.
Okay. So those were two that were helpful to me.
And they are small books. They are like a summary of the main concepts in the proem and a little. And there are, of course, many others and bigger books, but they serve as an introduction to the basic concepts.
Okay, we can give it a few more minutes.
Yeah, or we
Anything
can stop
stirring
if,
in there?
yeah.
Just need a little faux hot to, there we go.
All right, from Susan. What do you think of Ola Nu?
Ola Nu is a rephrasing of the stanzas of Xi'an, and I think it's useful. You know, there are many ways you can rephrase them. In this book, I rephrase them in a different way also. I think it's very useful to try to rephrase the stanzas in ways that we think may make more sense to us. Unfortunately, the stanzas in the Secret Doctrine are very technical, full of terms from all different languages, you know, Tibetan and Hindu and Hebrew and, you know, all different languages. So it's a good exercise to try to rephrase the stanzas. And Ola Nu did that, and I like it. In the book, I rephrased them in a different way, trying to be a little less poetic and more accurate to the meaning, in a sense. Not that Ola Nu is not accurate, it is, but it's more poetical, I think. I try to do it more as an explanation of what the terms mean. So yeah, I think all those efforts are valuable.
Okay,
All right.
all right, so we are good. We thank you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, remember, is the last class of this series. Then on Saturday, there is another class that I will lead, is Saturday morning and afternoon, where we are going to actually practice some of the meditations that come out of these concepts. So that will be not only the explanation of the practice, but the doing of the practice. So if you are interested and you have not signed up, write to Rochelle or Annie.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.